This is the Orioles Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me here on this Wednesday night. My name is Luke Slaybaugh, and this is the Baltimore Orioles Postcast, the post-game show on the Locked On Podcast Network after every single Baltimore Orioles game that you and I can stand. Thank you for listening and watching here live on YouTube right now on this Wednesday night. If you're watching on the replay, hello, leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you're listening in your car the morning after or late at night, we're happy to have you here as well. Welcome. As a reminder, Connor Newcomb still runs the daily Locked On Orioles podcast show every day. He's here 5 days a week on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for free. This is bonus content. If you support this show, by extension, you support the greater effort here at Locked On Orioles. So thank you for joining me. Unfortunately, we again are talking about the Baltimore Orioles loss, this time 5-2 at the hands of the Minnesota Twins on this Wednesday night. That's 4 in a row for the Orioles and 9 under 500 for the season. This is a low. And remember, this is supposed to be the easier part of the schedule. The opponents in April had a combined winning percentage of over 500, and in May, we're looking at the 430s range in terms of strength of schedule. Orioles, in fact, are playing up to their competition, doing better against teams over 500 than they are against some of the lower level teams in Major League Baseball. But in terms of winning percentage, the Orioles are right there near the bottom. Only the White Sox and the Rockies are the ones that are dismal down in a hole. And tonight, this was a broken record. It was almost like clockwork. You could pin the exact moment where things go awry. In fact, in many situations this year, the Orioles get a lead. In this case, a Ramón Laureano home run. One thing goes wrong, it snowballs, and Charlie Morton is on the receiving end of another whipping, and the offense sputters. It started out semi-promising, though, here in this 5-2 loss to the Minnesota Twins. Bottom of the second, Morton did walk a runner, and he had him on third base with 2 outs. Royce Lewis at the plate, 3-1 count. Was on the edge of my seat thinking, could the second inning be the clincher? And then cutter, ground ball, throw by Gunnar Henderson. Ryan Mountcastle extends. Nice little toe tap play. And Morton gets out of the inning unscathed. Sigh. Laureano homers in the top half of the frame in the third. And then it took Charlie Morton 9 pitches to do what we knew he was capable of doing.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The forgettable season continues for right-hander Charlie Morton. The stuff has played really well. And that might be the thing biting him in the butt the most, is that the fastball has some good play on it. It's moving at 95, 96. After his move to the bullpen, he's still, he's ramping up the fastball velocity. And there can be good break on his curveball, but it's either not in the right place or nowhere close to the strike zone. And the temporary move to the bullpen was supposed to help fix those mechanics. And spoiler alert, it did not. So Willie Castro leads off with a single, change over the outer half of the plate. Fine. Then Cody Clemens, son of the great Roger Clemens, Rockets, gets hit by a pitch. Number 9 hitter, not a great hitter, and was behind 3-1 in that count. You see where this is going. And then the 6'2" Byron Buxton, former first round draft pick by the Minnesota Twins, falls behind 3-1. Then a hanging curveball, 82 miles an hour over the middle of the plate. Second deck, we got a 3-1 ball game. 22 pitches for Charlie Morton to get out of that third inning, and gets limited to just about 4 innings in this 5-2 loss to the Minnesota Twins. That notwithstanding, we saw a pinch hit home run from Harrison Bader in the bottom of the 7th, 2-run blast off of left-hander Keegan Aikens. So this game was further put out of reach in the later innings, but Charlie Morton, again, on the receiving end of this loss, now loses his first 6 starts of the year and falls to 0-7. Yikes. And good for the former Cardinal, the Bader Doodle, as I know him, Harrison Bader, with the 2-run home run, because the long flowing locks, the golden locks, if you will. One other thing to talk about, and we probably should have gotten into this more last night, but we had a lot to talk about then as well, is what's going on with this offense.
This is what you'll be talking about.
This quote from last night comes from the writer Matt Wyrick of the Baltimore Sun, fine newspaper in Maryland, where the great Bill Wagner cut his teeth. And this is from Gunnar Henderson, says, in terms of the offense, what it needs to do to find consistency. He says, quote, you just can't go out there and try to force it to happen. Just got to go out there and try to string it together each and every night and go out there and try to progress in the right way. Speaking of a broken record. And how do I put this? For full disclosure here, I am not a sunshine pumper. When something is trending down and something looks realistically out of reach or dismal, I will speak to that. That's also why I'm not like jumping around and doing somersaults and whatnot here on this podcast. If we were riding a 5-game win streak, man, I would have great things to say and I'll be jumping for joy. But here we are. Orioles were batting 205 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position this year, and that was tied for 22nd in Major League Baseball with the Royals and the Diamondbacks. And we saw a couple of instances tonight where the Orioles did make lemonade out of lemons with 2 outs, sometimes to good results, and other times to kill a would-be rally. Top of the 5th inning, did a lot of good work with 2 outs against Minnesota's right-hander, had the really long name, Simeon Woods Richardson. Oof, that's a mouthful. Had to go back and remember that. So Ramón Laureano gets an opposite field double, and then Heston Kjerstad, ball in on the hands, has a nice single. Laureano scores. Nice to see he's not going station to station. And Emmanuel Rivera hitting in the 9-hole with a single as well going oppo. And Kjerstad goes first to third. Cedric Mullins strikes out to end the inning, but it cut the lead from 3-1 to 3-2. Orioles just have a 1-run deficit. Then we had 2 more 2-out hits in the top of the 6th. Both of these not well struck. Ryan O'Hearn hits a dribbler to left-hander Danny Coulomb on the mound. Coulomb kind of falls over, was not able to beat O'Hearn in the foot race to first base. O'Hearn, a disciplined runner, a good runner, not necessarily a fast runner, and Coulomb was just too far off the grid to get there in time. Ryan Mountcastle hit a tapper to third baseman Brooks Lee as well, but nothing doing as the Orioles only managed 2 runs. Ramón Laureano scoring both of them. 3 infield hits tonight for the Baltimore Orioles, and that is going to lead me to my tease and what the next block is going to be about. One, major concerns around an Orioles hitter who we presumed after a red-hot April was going to lead this team. Step back for him. And then what's up with all this weak contact and not getting the ball out of the infield? We saw Gunnar Henderson hit a infield single in the top of the 8th, and his was not softly hit. It was around 99-100 off the bat. He increases his on-base streak to 13 games, by the way, which is impressive. But how do we get this machine rolling? And what can we point to in terms of offensive struggles and how to right the ship for the Orioles? I won't have a lot of solutions, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Coming up right after this break. Guys, as you know, I was at a wedding this weekend, and weddings give me anxiety. I just, worry that the ceremony is going to go well, that the reception is well received, that the bride and groom are at their best. And on my way to the church in downtown Houston, I'm thinking to myself, what can I snack on that's grab and go that can ease my anxiety? Wonderful pistachios. What is a high protein nut and something that can give me a 6-gram of protein serving in a pinch? Wonderful pistachios. What has a 10% value of daily protein and also includes all 9 essential amino acids? Wonderful pistachios. What has that satisfying crunch that you just can't resist? It's wonderful pistachios. And yes, they are a sponsor of this show. Shells, no shells, you pick. It is great for the grab and go ease, and whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, you can find them anywhere at your convenience stores, not to be inconvenienced, at the store, gas stations, you know what it is. They're the snack that works as hard as you and I do. Works as hard as the Orioles do. As hard as Ramón Laureano did tonight with that 425-foot blast. Get snacking, get cracking. It's wonderful pistachios. One more shout out tonight, and that's Supply House. It's the site made for the skill trades. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Website is easy to use, and it's got all the helpful resources to help you get the product info you need and get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Supply House offers help all the time. You've got support and industry-leading service, and you're always going to talk to a real person. And if you're looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals agree, and they're taking advantage. I challenge you to do your part. Going to supplyhouse.com/TM. That is how you join the Trade Master program. Supplyhouse.com/TM. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. That's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. Supplyhouse.com. All right, everyone, home stretch here as we're talking about the 5-2 loss to the Minnesota Twins tonight on the Baltimore Orioles postcast. We're here on the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Luke Slaybaugh. As a reminder, Connor Newcomb is here 5 days a week. He is doing his recap right now, trying to find eloquent ways of saying can't pitch, can't hit. I am challenged to do the same. And so I had to take the liberty of just writing down all the instances in which the ball was hit softly tonight. And it all kind of came off of came after Woods Richardson was pulled there in the fourth inning, I believe. Fifth inning. He went 4 2/3 tonight. And it started out 3-1 game. Jackson Holliday with a soft fly out to center field. Kind of fooled. 3-1 count, low slider. Holliday's been seeing the ball really well, and you can tell that his body just felt off there. He was anticipating sitting dead red and got fooled down low. Now, granted, this was right before Ramón Laureano hit that opposite field double, and it could have made the difference in tying the ball game in that inning. Same thing with those infield hits in the top of the sixth, though. Hearn with a ground ball to first base, and then Ryan Mountcastle as well. Excuse me. Yes. Hearn with the ground ball to first base. Then Lewis Varland, the right-hander, comes in. Mountcastle to third base. And Jackson Holliday as well, hitting a tapper about 70 miles an hour back to Varland. Ramón Laureano as well. Tapper on the infield to Carlos Correa on the top of the seventh. And that by that point, all was pretty much out of reach. And I challenge you, and I wonder what exactly is, if this is the stage of either getting out of a slump, recognizing the ball better out of the pitcher's hand, but not quite being there mechanically, or if it's a new low for this team. Again, questions, not answers. One other question I have is what is going on with Cedric Mullins? He is ice cold, like cooler than being cool, ice cold. 2 for his last 29 and 1 for 21 in the month of May. That is 8 strikeouts and no walks. 1 home run in the previous series against the Royals, but tonight I think was what we've started to see a free fall out of him. Average is now down to 237. The OPS, which he stacked up by working really good at bats, 8 to 10 pitches and walking and getting on base for most of the month of April, which prompted Brandon Hyde to move him up to the leadoff spot. This was the complete opposite of that. He was hacking and whacking, and I'll say blindly, from the very first pitch of the game. First pitch pop out, had 2 of those, pop out to Carlos Correa on the infield, and then a strikeout badly in that 5th inning, just missing on a sweeper with runners in scoring position. Cedric Mullins has been looked at through a number of lenses as the team now drops to 9 games under 500. One as the elder statesman and leader of this team who when the offense was sputtering, delivered reliable performances. And now that there's not a whole lot of protection for him in the lineup, other than Gunnar Henderson, he is not even viewed as the other thing that we saw through a lens, which was Baltimore, their bona fide trade chip. Ryan Mountcastle's been scuffling, OPS in the high 500s. Cedric Mullins is probably the best bang for your buck you would get on the trade market if GM Michael Lass decides to go that route, if the team cannot pull itself out of a hole, which it has dug deeper for itself. And I would wonder who is the leader on this offense. Gunnar with the 13-game on-base streak. Otherwise, you're looking at several offers and several players just trying to figure it out at the major league level. Jackson Holliday starting to take his walks. Heston Kjerstad with a couple of good hits on pitches inside, but nothing consistent from Adley Rutschman, who started the season off pretty well the first couple of weeks, but has been nosediving since then in terms of batting average. O'Hearn is good. Only one home run off of lefties. So yeah, a lot of questions, maybe a whole nother episode and segment we could do towards potential answers. But if I had the answers to those, well, I would not be here. I'd be making a lot more money. 0 home runs for O'Hearn against lefties. I read that wrong. And so now we go to the series finale. Right-hander Dean Kramer going tomorrow, 1:10 first pitch Eastern time, going up against their ace, right-hander Joe Ryan for the Minnesota Twins. Kramer coming off a great outing, 7 innings of scoreless ball against the Royals over at Camden Yards. He still has a 5.73 ERA. Joe Ryan, 2.93 ERA, 2-2 on the year. He turns 29 next month. And then it's off to Anaheim. Hopefully the Orioles can go there with a win under their belt and try to get some positive momentum going. Some update from manager Brandon Hine on these birds with broken wings. We've got 13 guys on the IL. Right-hander Zach Eflin is due back during the Anaheim series. Should get a start coming off that right lat strain. And outfielder Tyler O'Neill, rehabbing in Norfolk, should also join the team up in the City of Angels. So trying to get some offensive production back in the lineup. That is the one thing that has been missing. And many of you have pointed out in the comments already, is that when Anthony Santander departed via free agency, you did not have that extra piece to protect some of the younger O's hitters. And that was 40 home runs out the door. I mentioned in the very first postcast of the season that baseball is not a transitive property sport. Really, no sport is, but offensively, this team isn't the same as it was a year ago, and it wasn't expected to manufacture runs the same way. And when they won that game against Toronto 12-2, I pointed to those instances where they were able to squeak in runs, and O'Neill actually ran the bases really well. And despite hitting a number of home runs that game, a record for opening day, they showed promises and signs of life to create runs in other ways. That sadly has not shown to be a sustainable thing so far. They really do miss Tony Taters. And Tyler O'Neill, showing a different approach, trying to hit the ball a little bit more to the opposite field, has not delivered on his promise as well in what he did a year ago in Boston. So there is a reckoning coming. Maybe it's already happened, but that is 13 guys on the IL right now. Trevor Rogers also eyeing a return in May. And Connor will have a lot more of that coming up on the Daily Show in just a few hours, perhaps. I know he's taping it right now. So I want to say thank you again for watching here live on YouTube and listening on the Locked On Podcast Network. This was the Baltimore Orioles Postcast. A reminder, my name is Luke Slayball. This is bonus content. This is complimentary to the main Locked On Orioles show. We got some good plans throughout the season. Hopefully, the O's can live up to their end of the bargain tonight. They dropped their 4th straight. Final score, Minnesota 5 and Baltimore 2. Thanks so much for watching and listening here on the Locked On Podcast Network.